Hello, everyone. Welcome into the latest edition of the No Holden Back podcast. My name is Luke Holden, currently standing alongside my dad, Ben Holden.
I'm not on a box either.
Right. I guess you could call this the first standing edition of the No Holden Back podcast, if you will.
As we say in the TV world, it's a standalone.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's a standalone.
Yep.
So good to see you, bud.
Yeah, you too. It's been a while since we've recorded one of these together, I think. I know you've been doing pretty well with your end, doing some fun stuff with some of your old work friends from Channel 10 up in Lansing, and I know that's been a good time for you. But
yeah, you don't know many of them.
Yeah.
I want to say we've done 4 of them. I got one more we're doing tomorrow night. And Steve Kuhn, you remember Steve?
Yeah.
Yeah, you and his son Nolan are a year apart, and I think we had a couple play days with you guys back in the day when you were little. But yeah, you were born in 01, and so I was there another about 2.5 years, and then I left to go into the world of play-by-play, man. So it's been a lot of fun, Luke.
Yeah.
I mean, those have been really cool and a cool way to reconnect. And so many people that it was 22, 21 years ago that we all kind of started there. And, to see what everybody's done and people are doing. A lot of us are still in the world of broadcasting. And, Nick LaFave was on with me, Jeremy Ross, Aaron Baskerville, and Steve Kuhn, and our old friend Memo Lyons, who a lot of people requested watching the videos, having flashbacks. She was our assignment editor, and she was the glue in that newsroom, man.
Yeah.
She was awesome. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and I've missed we haven't done one in a week or so, or 2 weeks.
It's probably been a couple weeks, yeah.
So you probably got a lot of things in the holster you're ready to fire out there, right?
Yeah, so I mean, I think at least for myself, we kind of had a little bit of a dead period for a lot of things, so we didn't really have a whole lot to talk about. So you're kind of like, do we want to do a podcast and talk for maybe half an hour about stuff that pretty much everyone already knows?
We don't like making up stuff, man. We want to talk about things that are going on,
right? Or do we want to wait until things get going? So I'll touch a little bit on racing.
He's our resident expert on 2- and 4-wheel racing. He's the guy.
We'll go into some other things. We got a sort of a debate topic, I think, this week that I think some people will
let them know what it is.
Will enjoy. So we're going to talk a little bit, later in the show about, what we consider and don't consider to be sports or athletic competition, things like that. So I think that'll be a fun topic to get into.
If you say golf is not a sport, we got problems.
Golf is a sport. I will definitely agree with you on that one. So
no, that'll be fun.
But yeah, we'll get into that a little bit later. Talk about really everything going on around the U.S. and the world, just with sports and everything like that. So first thing I want to get into, a sport that I've started to pick up through quarantine, and I hope that a lot of the other people listening have picked up some new sports to watch and things like that. But Formula One, or F1. Has been started since 3 weeks ago back in Austria in the Red Bull Ring. Valtteri Bottas, Mercedes driver, won the first opening round. Lewis Hamilton has now won 2 back-to-back. They get a week off, then they go to Silverstone for Hamilton's opening round. So I'll go through the points right now for your top 3.
Here we go. He's our expert.
So Lewis Hamilton, with his win last week in the Hungaroring in Hungary, takes the driver standings lead with 63 points. His teammate Valtteri Bottas follows him up with 58. Max Verstappen, who had a really good second place finish in the Hungaroring on Sunday last week, follows up in third with 33. And my favorite driver, Lando Norris, driving for McLaren, is in fourth with 26 points. So it's been pretty fun to watch so far. Those Mercedes cars are definitely better than every single car on the grid at the moment, which they really have been for the past few years. But Lewis has broken more records. He's now tied Michael Schumacher on most wins at a single circuit for 7 at the Hungaroring. He also has his 86th total win, which I don't know exactly who has the most wins in F1, but he's definitely up there for 86 wins.
It's not Schumacher?
Schumacher is, I think he still does. He's definitely up there, but I don't know the exact layout there between who's got the most and who has and who's behind that. But
my knowledge is limited in that, but I definitely know who Michael Schumacher is.
Yes.
I mean, he's about the only guy. If you ask me, name 3 drivers in F1, he'd probably be about the only one I could name.
Yeah. So
I never really got into that and never really covered it, but it's cool to see you get into it and listen to you talk about it.
Right. And for those that don't know, Michael Schumacher, 7-time world champion. Lewis is looking to possibly tie that this year. He's got 6, looking to make it 7 this year. And I think with the car that he has and the type of driver he is, I think it'll be pretty easy for him to make that happen. And in some other interesting drama, if you will, in F1, so the Racing Point team has been protested now twice, back-to-back weeks by Renault for potential illegal parts being used on that car. It looks very similar to the 2019 Mercedes. And in F1, you can't copy parts from another manufacturer that has entered into the sport.
Okay.
So you can't copy a Mercedes car or a Renault car or a McLaren car if you're not manufacturing your own parts.
Gotcha.
So that's been protested the past couple of weeks by Renault. Nothing's really happened with it yet. I mean, I know the FIA and winter testing said that the car was fine from everything they had looked at. Rules play a major part in F1, more so than in any other racing that I've seen. So it's been pretty interesting to watch that go down. I mean, Racing Point has definitely looked like Mercedes the second, if you will, this year. So Lance Stroll and Sergio Perez had both qualified 3rd and 4th on the grid this weekend, right behind the 2 Mercedes. So that'll be interesting to see what happens with them throughout the rest of the season. But they're definitely a very strong car as well compared to the other cars in that sort of class. Between I would compare it with Renault, obviously, and McLaren are kind of they should really be in that same class, and both, I think Renault believes that they're just a little bit too good. But there's your F1 update or Formula One update for this week's episode. And now I'm going to go into MotoGP. They finally got to start this weekend after, I believe it was 486 days since the last race was ran for MotoGP. And it was definitely it was a really good race in Jerez this weekend. They'll be racing again in a doubleheader this weekend. But Fabio Quartararo, the Frenchman, got his first ever win as a MotoGP Premier Class rider. His 20th Grand Prix. He's number 20. It's been 21 years since a French rider has won a Grand Prix.
Jeez.
He was 5 months old since the last Frenchman won a MotoGP race. So, Fabio looked very strong in the race. I think with what happened to Marc Marquez, which I'll get into that in a sec, I think Fabio has a good chance to possibly take away what would be a short season with only 13 rounds as of right now, possibly a world championship, not on a factory machine. So that'll be pretty interesting. Andrea Dovizioso had a very good ride for breaking his collarbone 3 weeks ago, came back and got a podium finish.
Nice work.
Wow. So Davi, still nothing on if he's going to re-sign with Ducati as of right now. They still haven't come to an agreement on that for next season. So we have Jack Miller, who's the Australian who finished in 4th, just missed out on a podium. He's on Pramac Ducati. He'll be one of the factory Ducati riders next year. Jack had a very good ride. And one thing that I thought was interesting about Jack this weekend is he changed his number. So pretty much most of his career, he's had an orange 43, and he just this season changed it to the Australian flag as his number for the 43. A nice nod to Casey Stoner, who those that don't know is a 3-time world champion. Won with Ducati, and he always ran the Australian flag in his number, whether he was world champion or not. So I think Jack is definitely looking to replicate Casey's success at Ducati next year when he gets there to the factory team. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. And as for Marc Marquez, he's out for a while. Broke his humerus in a very, very nasty crash. Going about around 120 miles per hour through turn 4 or turn 3. Had a high side. It's pretty nasty. So Marquez, the reigning world champion, will be out for at least this weekend, and they're looking to get him back by Brno in the Czech Republic in the next. They got about a 3-week window until that race takes place, but definitely unfortunate for Repsol Honda and for Marc Marquez as he's trying to look to defend his world title. But, the way I see MotoGP this year, it's a short season, and, whatever happens with Marquez, I could definitely see him come back and win the championship. But I think this year, for really whoever wins, it's a little bit of a write-off. It's a short season, and I think next year the real war is going to ensue because you're going to have Fabio Quartararo moving up, taking Valentino Rossi's place on factory Yamaha. Mm-hmm. You're going to have Jack Miller on factory Ducati. You're going to have Pol Espargaro, who's been on satellite teams and on Red Bull KTM, which is factory, but they're not as good as the other factory machines on the grid.
They don't have as much money then.
Well, they're a newer team. KTM made their debut, I believe, I want to say it was 2016 was their first year. It was either 2016 or 2017 was their first year in MotoGP. So they're fairly new. And when a new team comes in, they don't have all the resources and things they need to get to the level of a Repsol Honda or a Monster Energy Yamaha or Ducati or anything like that. So Espargaro will be teammates with Marc Marquez next year, and they've battled throughout all their, pretty much their whole career. They're both Spanish riders. So I think seeing Espargaro on a very, very good bike competing against Marquez will be fun to watch next year. We don't know what's going to happen with Jack Miller's teammate, if it's going to be Dovizioso, if it'll be Cal Crutchlow, who's currently out of a ride for next year, who is also injured, but he will be coming back for Jerez this weekend. We don't know if it's going to be Jorge Lorenzo, who might come back out of retirement, who he retired in 2019. So we could see him on the grid again next year, which personally I would love because I am a big Lorenzo fan. Mm-hmm. But it was definitely a very interesting weekend. Neither Suzuki rider got to finish.
What is the deal there?
Alex Rins crashed out in practice. And he broke his arm, so he's going to be out for a little bit.
Jeez.
And Joan Mir crashed in the first lap, so Suzuki didn't even get a bike across the line.
Yikes.
In Jerez. I think they'll be a strong bike this year, so long as they can get their guys through a weekend.
Sounds like it.
So Rossi had a mechanical failure, so he had to check out of the race on the 19th lap, which is unfortunate for any Rossi fan. So I didn't get to see him finish, and obviously it's not the way he would have wanted to finish that race off, but should be interesting. So Quartararo is your points leader, following up with Maverick Vinales on factory Yamaha, who finished second, and obviously Dovizioso in third in the points, getting that pretty impressive podium ride, I would say. So that's all I really have for racing news, at least for this week. Quick update on outdoors for the AMA Pro National Series.
Yeah.
They'll be going August 15th at Ironman. So they had to push it back. They were supposed to start last weekend, but that didn't happen, unfortunately. So, but they'll be racing all the way into October, which is going to be pretty weird because that's when Monster Energy Cup and MX of Nations is supposed to take place on a normal year. So,
what about Red Bud? Are they doing that race?
Yeah, so they'll be doing a double at Red Bud.
That's kind of, for those that don't know, so you're looking at Michigan, that's kind of like down here. Mm-hmm. Southwestern corner of the state.
Yeah, so they'll be doing a double header at Red Bud, which will be pretty cool. Obviously, no fans, but at least to see the historic track raced twice this year is going to be pretty cool. And I mean, all the riders love riding at Red Bud. So but yeah, we'll see those guys go outdoors August 15th, which will be fun. We'll hopefully see if Eli Tomac can possibly claim his fourth straight outdoor title after coming off of his first Supercross.
He's the man.
But yeah, that's all I got for racing. So, I know you have some stuff that you want to talk about as well, and some other sports.
Well, a couple things before we move on. So our Motorsports Update has been brought to you proudly by Tim Hortons, the official coffee of Luke's Updates. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to share something. So I got to hop on here, getting on the old iPad.
Yep.
So I want to share something with those out there that may not have seen this. Where are we at here? I'm going to find my page here. Bear with me. Let's see. This is a little different than my phone, so I'm trying to make this work. All right. Almost there. So, man, that was a fun day.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, my God, that was so much fun.
Yep.
So, Luke and I, it was a year ago this time that we were out in California. I had an arm wrestling show that I now remember you were at with me. Remember a couple weeks ago?
Yeah.
Like, have you been doing arm wrestling? You're like, yeah, I was in LA with you. Duh.
Yep.
Well, I was more focused on the trip we had. I'm still trying to find this. I don't know why I'm not finding it. Here we are at the Coliseum. Where is it? Well, nevertheless, it was a year ago yesterday. Hang on. This works really well on YouTube. It's on my page. That's why. I want to hold this up and show people. So a year ago yesterday.
Yep.
So there's some pics of Luke. You can see it. We were at Laguna Seca, and I've seen this kid happy a lot, but this was one of the happier times I've ever seen him in his life. the day that we went to this track. And it's a hell of a story, actually. Man, that was fun.
Yeah, it was.
So we drove up. It would have been Friday because our show was Thursday, I believe, in LA.
Yep.
So we started driving up, and I think we drove like 5.5 or 6 hours, didn't we?
Yeah, something like that.
And we had no itinerary. It's not like when I normally travel. I'm going here. I'm on this flight. You're staying in this hotel. I had nothing.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? The hell with it. We're just going to wing this thing. And so I didn't know exactly where that track was.
Yeah.
I knew it was somewhere a little bit, a couple hours south of, San Francisco or whatever it was. What were we, like 2.5 hours south?
Somewhere around there, yeah.
So we're driving. We had a Mustang, a convertible. We had to put it up because, Dad didn't put any suntan lotion on either one of us. We were getting fried in the car. We had a convertible.
Yeah.
And I said, well, what if we stop here, in this town? And from what I remember is all of a sudden, as we kept getting closer to where we agreed we were going to stop, we started seeing signs for Laguna Seca, man. And he was so pumped. And we drove right in the garage. We went, the one picture, you were right in front of the big media center.
Yep.
We were out on the track, part of the track, it was awesome, man. It was, and that's when I realized that, your love for specifically the bikes had come back. Cause we've talked about it a few times on these shows we've done, you were around at a young age and, I had a friend that was a pro, but now he's training people, coaching people.
Yeah, he's training Adam Cincerillo and Cameron McAdoo.
Yeah, and that was cool. So I just wanted to share that a little bit and put that out there. But that was the other picture I showed Luke was we did these scooters in San Francisco.
Yeah,
that was a year ago today, and that was one of the most fun times we ever had with this kid.
Yeah,
it was awesome. We were just going through the wharf, riding right down the street. It was incredible. Yep. But anyway, we digress. So where are we heading next, man?
Yeah, well, and to touch on Laguna Seca real quickly, actually 7 years ago.
There's no time limit.
7 years ago today, Marc Marquez made the identical pass on Valentino Rossi in the corkscrew at Laguna Seca.
Oh, I remember you telling me that.
That Valentino Rossi had made in 2008 against Casey Stoner, going in the in the gravel trap, downhill on a chicane, the corkscrew, the most famous turn at Laguna Seca.
Yeah.
And Marquez, of course, ended up winning that race, and Rossi making the same move on Stoner in 2008, respectively, winning that race as well.
Yeah.
So, I think if they were still racing in Laguna, we probably would have been there for a race weekend at that point. So
we might not have come home till the next week.
Right. So because they usually would go to Laguna around this time of year. So but yeah, I just wanted to touch on that a little bit. I think next, the NBA obviously has been a big talking point for a lot of people.
Yep. The bubble.
In a lot of different ways. And as of July 13th, since then, no single player has tested positive.
346 tested.
Yep, for COVID-19, which is a very good sign.
It is.
There were a lot of things, at least to me, that seemed pretty worrying at first. Obviously, getting everyone in there and hoping that no one was spreading anything. The snitch hotline, as everyone calls it, was created.
Snitch line.
And it was used. There were a few guys that were called out for not wearing a mask, going out of their rooms when they were supposed to be quarantining.
Right.
So lots of drama and lots of things were going on. But I think, guys are starting to understand and figure out how important it is that they follow the rules, do the right thing. And it's obviously a good sign that and it's only been a few days, but it's a good sign that no one since July 13th has tested positive.
Yep.
And hopefully we see that trend continue, but we won't know until they start play on August 31st. So,
right.
So July 31st. Excuse me.
So what 10 days from now, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So the reason that you triggered something in my mind there. So I jumped here on Twitter. I saw this earlier. I know it was yesterday, but Steven Adams of the Oklahoma City Thunder, player I really like. I respect the way he plays. He plays the game hard. He's he's a good, hard, strong player for them and part of their nucleus. But so he was asked yesterday in a Zoom media session. Everything's going to be on Zoom now. Nobody's going to talk in person anymore for probably a year.
Right.
Who knows? Whatever. Let's just get through this thing and hopefully it doesn't continue to spread. But nevertheless, so he was asked about what it was like adapting to being down in Orlando and basically, at this Disney resort.
Yeah.
And he said, and I quote, "Let's be clear, mate. This is not Syria, mate. It's not that hard. We're living in a bloody resort."
Yeah.
I mean, that's great perspective.
Right.
I mean, look, these guys are pro athletes. I've been around enough pro athletes and know enough pro athletes to know that, their lifestyle is not such where they're used to going home and chilling at, 11 o'clock after a game. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
And I think everyone knows what I mean. And so I thought that was a cool perspective from him.
Definitely.
And I think that the NBA, if they can continue on the path they're on, like you said, no tests, 300 or no positives, 346.
Yep.
I think the NHL's got a really good chance of working.
Yes.
Look, I was with a friend last week, and he was talking to a friend of his, and I'm not going to put his name out there.
Yep.
But I'm not going to put either one of their names out there. But you got to believe me. I'm telling you the truth. So we got him on speakerphone on the 9th hole.
Yeah.
Current major league player. And he said to my friend, and he knew I was listening. He said, "Hey, my buddy Ben's on. He's legit. He's not going to do anything stupid. He's a good guy and all that."
Yeah.
So he has COVID.
Okay.
So he got put on the disabled list. And, he's a guy that's towards the end of his career.
Right.
So, his window continues, to squeeze and close. He's in his 30s.
Yeah.
And he said, "Look, I've had stomach flu that's been worse than this."
Right.
And I know 140,000 plus people have died. I'm not making light of it or making fun of it.
Yep.
My point is every case is different. And in this guy's case, saying, "Oh, I've had stomach flu. It's been harder to deal with than this." He basically had no symptoms.
Right.
He's frustrated because he's got a quarantine.
Yep.
Their season is starting later this week. The Nationals and the Yankees are starting on Thursday. Did you hear who's throwing out the first pitch, by the way?
I feel like I did, but I don't know if I really remember who. I swear I came across that last night. But
Our good buddy, Dr. Anthony Fauci.
Oh, okay.
And the word is he's going to throw a flatten the curveball. Didn't land.
Oh,
A few of my jokes do. But yeah, so, I hope that they work. I think the bubble thing is a lot more feasible. I do have concerns just, as a fan and, and an American that wants to see everyone do well, that there could be problems in baseball and there could be problems in football.
Yes.
And, I think hockey has the best chance of working.
Yeah.
Because number one, they're in Canada and the case count. Yeah. The case count is way down.
Yeah.
That leads us to some other things. So the Blue Jays aren't playing in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
I remember seeing a week or two ago when the Canadian government, threatened if players are outside of their hotel, they'll be fined $750,000. They could go to jail.
Yeah.
I put a thing on Twitter and people were like, "What are they, communists?"
I know. Yeah.
I'm like, look, I'm just, reacting to what I saw. I don't have an opinion either way. I mean, I guess if I did, it would be, that's why Canada's got a better control of this thing.
Right.
They have a lot less people. I get that.
Yes.
They only have 37 million people in their country as opposed to 330 like us.
Right.
But they've taken it more serious. They've done more safety precautions. They've been smarter about it.
Mm-hmm.
So now think of this, man. So the Pittsburgh Penguins are playing in the NHL bubble in Toronto for their home games.
Right.
And the Toronto Blue Jays, last I saw about a half hour ago, are going to play their home games at PNC Park where the Pittsburgh Pirates play.
Yep.
It's 2020, man.
Right. Well, and the thing I found interesting about that, is they talked about, too, using their minor league team. Buffalo.
They did in Buffalo, yeah.
And, they said, the facilities aren't good enough. And I thought to myself, I'm like, why in this case would facilities mean a lot? You're not having fans there, for one. And for two, as long as everything's regulation, I don't see why where you're playing necessarily matters. But, I guess at the end of the day, at least they found somewhere to play and they found a home, if you will.
Yeah.
But, I did find those comments a little oddball, at least to me. But, I guess, in the sense, some of these guys are used to being pampered when they're in the league for so long. So they want the best they can have, and I get it.
I do too. I think a lot of that was, from what I heard and read about, was, the locker rooms aren't as big. They don't have enough space.
Yeah. Yep.
The workout rooms, things like that.
Yeah.
So, I hear what you're saying. I hear both sides of it. I felt the same way too, to be honest. Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
You're going to play. You're getting paid. You're making millions.
Yep.
You're playing a game. And so, but I see both sides. And it looks like they found a home in Pittsburgh. So
yeah, definitely. Yep.
And there was talk that they may end up in Lansing.
Really?
An hour from us. Early on it was discussed because they've been tied in with the Lansing Lugnuts. Who've been there since the mid '90s.
Yep.
And when I was working there, they were, I believe originally they were with Kansas City.
Okay.
And then they were tied in, when I was there, for the most part, they were tied in with the Cubs. Guys like Carlos Zambrano came out of there. He was a big league starter for the Cubs for a long time.
Yeah.
Corey Patterson was an amazing outfielder, 5'2" guy. He came up with them. So, but that went quickly by the wayside. But that would have been kind of cool. But not that we can go anyways. But
right.
You know, it would have been cool for Lansing to, you know, have that spotlight on him. It is my hometown and always will be.
Yeah, and now I'm not, you know, extremely tied in with minor league baseball or baseball itself, but the Lugnuts are in the same division as the Mudhens, correct? Or are the Mudhens higher than?
No, Mudhens are AAA.
Okay.
So the Lugnuts are Class A. They're a step above rookie ball.
Okay.
Which is what you have down in the Florida League. So in Michigan, you've got the Whitecaps. They're in Grand Rapids.
Yep.
Comstock Park, just north of Grand Rapids.
Yeah.
We probably went by the stadium, whether it was for lacrosse or, you know, hockey or whatever, driving up north. But
yeah, I'm sure.
They're in Comstock Park, and then the Loons, they're up Midland Bay City area, and last I knew they were with the Dodgers, and they're all A ball.
Okay.
So yeah, the Mudhens, they're AAA, so they're
I just
AA, AAA. Yeah.
I just always found it interesting how the Mudhens were, you know, in Toledo, but they were linked with the Tigers. But
well, yeah, they're, you know, a lot of them do that. I mean, we've seen that a lot since the time I was in the American League. We were in Cleveland.
Yeah,
you know, you see more and more teams are doing that, and it's more so, to me, it's more so that they're doing it for their scouts.
Yeah,
because
it's easier. Yeah, they can just drive a couple hours and go to a game.
Well, yeah, and it saves them the almighty dollars. Yeah. So, you know, a lot of people were like, "Oh, well, guys getting called up." Well, that's fine, but I've told you this in the 2 years I was with Lake Erie, we were Colorado's farm team. We had far more guys called up when we were on the road. Yeah, it just worked out that way.
Right.
There were I remember a couple guys and interviewing a couple guys that got, you know, called up at home at the Q in Cleveland, but for the most part, like I said, I believe that's done for the scouts to save them money. I mean, think of this, man. You had all these teams. You had the Sharks. The San Jose Sharks were in Worcester, Mass.
Yeah.
It's all the way across country.
I know.
The Kings were in Manchester, New Hampshire for a long time.
Yep.
The Ducks, they were in a couple different spots. They were in Norfolk for one time.
Yeah.
Now there's 6 or 7 teams out in California.
Right.
So it's been done for that. And, you know, it's a good model. It's a good model.
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
Yeah.
You know, and touched a little bit on NBA again. I mean, I'm sure you've seen this, but, you know, people have been talking. You know, I mean, I've seen, you know, the next super team is going to come out of the NBA bubble.
Really?
Yeah. Well,
you believe that?
I don't know if I necessarily believe it. I can see that.
Because they're all together so they can talk more? Is that the rationale?
And I can see that possibly happening. Now, obviously, practice times are staggered, so teams aren't practicing at the same time as each other.
Yeah. But FaceTime,
cell phone,
Snapchat.
Zoom. If you're not quarantining, I'm sure these guys have probably gone to dinner with each other. You know, I mean, they've opened the water park and the roller coasters to the guys at night.
Golf course.
The golf course, fishing.
Can I go down there?
You know, they're fishing. I mean, they've got tons of stuff to do down there. Lots of social events.
Yeah.
I could see that happen. I don't know if I can necessarily pick out who.
That's a great thing to think about.
I would say the Lakers, just because we know how good LeBron is at recruiting players.
Well, yeah,
and it's LeBron James,
and he's got AD there already. So
right, so I could see the Lakers. You know, Kawhi and the Clippers. That dynamic is. I'm still unsure. I just don't. I mean, I'm like everybody else. I don't know much about Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah.
You know, other than he's a fun guy apparently. Haven't really seen that yet, but
from what we've heard,
yeah. But you know, it's I could see it, but it also puts the teams that aren't there, for example, Golden State,
Pistons,
the Pistons. They don't get a chance to have those recruiting talks to try to get guys signed. I mean, you think about the Pistons, you got Blake Griffin here.
Mm-hmm. They've been talking about moving him for the last year or so anyway.
Right, you know, and I could see that, you know, but Blake, if he wants to make something happen here, he can't do that because he's not there. The Pistons aren't down there. You know, Golden State, if they wanted to pick somebody up like Giannis, for example, in 2021, they can't do that away. They got to wait a little bit. So, you know, I don't know if it'll happen. We might see it. I mean, personally, if it does happen, I'd love to see it with a big market team. Portland, who's currently on the screen right now.
Yeah.
I'd love to see Portland pick up someone who would really, really help them, because we know how good Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum
really
are.
good. They both are.
But they do need help. They had LaMarcus Aldridge when he was in his prime, but obviously he left to go to San Antonio. And unfortunately, I don't think Lillard and McCollum. Well, I don't even know if McCollum was there when Aldridge was there. But besides the point, I'd like to see a smaller market get something good out of this. If that does happen, I don't want to see a team like the Lakers or the Clippers or the Nets or anybody like that, get, or even the Bucks. I almost called them the Greek Freaks.
You might as well
put
his picture on their jersey.
Right. But, teams like that, Milwaukee is a smaller market, but, I'd love to see Chicago come back.
Yeah.
Maybe Miami, but not really Miami. The Magic come back. Obviously, everyone that's talked about the Knicks for years, don't know if that'll ever change.
No, they've had a lot of things go wrong throughout this whole thing with their owner, and guys don't want to play there, and getting on them about racism and all these things. There's been a lot of darts thrown at them, and not good ones either.
Yeah, but I'd like to see a team that's there, that's a smaller market team. Even Phoenix, the Suns.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of talk that Devin Booker's going to leave, which I could see that happening.
Score 70 points a game somewhere else.
Score 70 points a game and lose, keep in mind.
He did his part.
Right. But, one of these small market teams that are in the bubble, I'd like to see them come out with something, with a deal for next year for a top free agent.
Yeah.
Not an LA team or
that's already on the brink.
Right.
And loaded.
The Lakers do need, I think, an extra piece.
Somebody to complement Caruso.
I think Caruso compliments himself.
Oh yeah. Some guy got married and he took his tux off the other day. I saw on Twitter.
Did you have a Caruso tattoo?
He pulled it up. He had a jersey on.
I think LA need another guy, but I don't know if they need a superstar. I think
they got J.R. Smith, man.
Well, yeah. If J.R. stayed off, if he's been off the Hennessy, I think he'll be fine.
According to the snitch line, he was on it.
Yeah, but I think if they could get another shooter like JR, or even just an all-star caliber player that could kind of be similar to LeBron when LeBron's off the court, I think that would help them going into the next year or two, because LeBron's, at least his current deal is starting to run out with LA. I don't think his time is running out.
No, I don't either. I think he's got a few more years left.
I could see him sticking around until Bronny Jr. gets in the league.
Yeah.
Which would be, I believe, 2024 would be his draft.
Is he the same age? Is he the same age as the Bates kid that committed to state?
I think he is. Yeah.
So he'd have 3 more years then.
Yep. So I could see LeBron sticking around till then.
That'd be kind of cool.
But obviously we know that LeBron isn't in LA to try to replicate Kobe or be better than Kobe.
No, he's trying to keep writing his own legacy.
Right. He just wants to. I think honestly, if he walked away with 1 or even 2 championships, I could see him retiring soon. But, that goes back to, I can take Valentino Rossi, for example. The guy's 41 years old. He's been in world championship racing for 25 years.
It's incredible.
And he doesn't want to walk away because he loves it so much, and he's so passionate about it. And he wouldn't know what he would do without it. And I think LeBron's a very similar athlete in that sense to Rossi, where they wouldn't know how to function without basketball in their life.
Or calling games.
Right. So, it could happen, but if it does happen, I hope it happens to a smaller market team and not a team that already is stacked in a sense.
Yeah.
I think we're going to switch gears a little bit here to football.
Oh, here we go. NFL or college? Where are we going?
I think we'll go NFL first, because I have a little bit more opinions about college than I do NFL.
All right.
But I'll let you take this one away for
I don't want to be in charge.
Okay. Well,
I'm just kidding, man.
I know the NFL, at least as of right now, said they don't want to play any preseason games.
That's correct. They did agree to that. Mm-hmm. I think that's a great move.
Yeah, I agree.
Honestly, I'm in the camp that, much of that has to do with what's going on now in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the camp that, and look, they play him for Gates.
Right.
So they're going to have at least 10 home games. That's bottom line why they do it.
Yep.
But I think they should go back to 2 anyway. I'm not going to say normal circumstances, but moving forward, I think they only need 2. You don't need 4 games to see if the 5th linebacker on your team can hang.
Yeah.
You're going to know.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you're going to know, watching the guy in practice for a couple days.
Right.
Or maybe even one day.
Yeah.
You're going to know this guy can play or he can't. He can help us or he can't. I mean, if he's not going to fit on our depth chart and he's not our second or third linebacker, well, he's a special teams guy.
Right. Yep.
I don't think you need that many games. But again, these guys, Patrick Mahomes signed for $500 million a couple of weeks ago. So let's be honest. That's why they do it. I think it's smart. I think it's, they're being smart about it.
Definitely.
As I touched on earlier, I think, to me, there's a little bit of concern with the fact that they're not in the bubble.
Yeah.
Guys got to be responsible. You said to me, we were talking yesterday, right? You said yesterday or a couple of days ago. And you said something to the effect of me, we're going to find out who the leaders are.
Yeah.
You say that to me, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. And I agree with you.
Definitely.
Because you're going to find out who's there to screw around.
Yes.
And who's there to play and perform and do what they do.
Yeah.
And look, there's knuckleheads in every business.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter what you do.
Right.
Personally, I'm in that category where I want sports to come back more than I ever have.
Yeah.
I haven't worked in almost 5 months.
Yep.
And lost a show last week that, we unfortunately couldn't do. Had a lot to do with health. It had a lot to do with safety.
Yep.
These things happen. There's still hope for that.
Right.
Coming back, but as of now, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So I just hope that players, again, to your point, find out who the guys are that are the real leaders and
definitely,
excuse me, and step up and, let's not go out and be idiots here.
Yeah. And obviously we know, that in terms of the political climate, in terms of what players do in the NBA with political statements and saying the things they've said, we've seen Lewis Hamilton, basically rewrite Mercedes in a sense. Their normal livery for Mercedes Petronas team it's a silver livery. It's black this year, which honestly looks amazing. Yeah. It's probably one of the nicest looking cars I've seen. Sharp. But they have end racism on the halo on the car. Last weekend he took a knee and put his hand up with a Black Lives Matter T-shirt on the podium. And I think we're also going to see, I like to see athletes express themselves in these ways. And I think it's been really cool to see that in multiple different sports. So I hope the NFL does continue that trend.
Well, the NFL, they announced that they're going to have stickers on their helmets in some way, shape, or form. Yep. So, they are going to do that. Last night, I'm going a little bit off topic here, but it's a podcast, so whatever.
Right.
Gabe Kapler, manager of the San Francisco Giants, he took a knee.
Yeah.
He took a knee, and some of their other staff did. So, I respect that. I serve my country, and I believe in the flag, but I understand the rights that people, there's a reason why they can protest, and it's part of, the makeup of our country. I respect it. Personally, I'm, in the group that's going to stand for the anthem.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Yeah. And
is.
I think the reason why kneeling during the anthem is such an issue for some people is because they don't understand the idea and the meaning behind it. Right. It's not to disrespect our soldiers that are fighting for their lives across the world. It's not to disrespect the country we have. It's to show this sense that everyone wants the freedom that we're all promised. And that's kind of the idea of kneeling is people, and I would say even including myself, don't feel as though everyone has a fair chance and an equal amount of opportunity to get what they should have and have the freedom that this country promises to everyone that lives here. Mm-hmm. And that to me is the real reason why people kneel for the anthem. It's not to disrespect anybody or make people upset. It's a political statement like a lot of other things are in any time of the year.
Our world has seemingly become that. Everything is political now.
Exactly.
Every single thing, wearing a mask, whatever it is, it's not all political.
Right.
In my opinion.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be, but unfortunately a lot of it is.
Right. But, I mean, hopefully that, for people that maybe don't understand what it's for, maybe me explaining that helps people understand a little bit better. But, it's been great to see that. In terms of the NFL, we don't, they haven't said if they're going to do a bubble or not. As of right now, they're not going to.
As of now, they're not. No. That's what concerns me.
Well, and it is a concern. But the way I see it, too, how do you fit that many guys into a bubble?
Yeah, it's a good point.
Where do you do it? Do you do it 2 or 3 different cities?
You just got to hope, like I said, you just got to hope that guy. No, you're right. And you got to hope that players are smart.
Yep.
You got to hope they are. Or otherwise, the plug's coming out.
Exactly.
I hate saying it, but it's just the way things have gone. And, people want to be safe. They don't want to spread this thing any more than it's spreading at a rampant pace. And in many states, Florida, where your grandparents live, and California, and Texas and Arizona's a lot of things going on there. So it's a good point. And it's tough. I mean, you're talking about, you're probably looking at, 80, 85, 90 people you'd have for each team.
Yeah.
With all the support staff, let's just call it 100.
Right. Yeah.
You got 53 players, you got coaches, you got coordinators, you got equipment people, you got trainers, you got, staff and social media people that are out there. I mean, so let's call it 100. So you're talking, over 3,000 people.
Right.
Could they do it? Yeah. But we'll see.
Yeah.
Again, I think number one, because the NHL is where they are, I think they have the greatest success rate. Now, I'm not saying that the other sports won't work and they can't work.
Yeah.
But I just feel that, number one, because it's in Canada. Number two, and some may take offense to this, but I think that hockey players as a whole, from top to bottom, and I have friends that are former football players, baseball players, basketball players, golfers, whatever they are.
Yep.
From top to bottom, to me, pro hockey players, they get it more than anyone.
Definitely.
As an entire group, there are some amazing friends that I have, and they're very smart.
Yeah.
But not everybody that was in that group of being an athlete in the NBA, the NFL, Major League Baseball falls in there. I'm saying top to bottom, I think the NHL's got the best chance of making it work.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see that. As I said, location to me right now with them is everything.
100%, man. And, again, look what they did to the Blue Jays.
Yeah.
You're not playing here.
Right.
We don't want those American teams coming in. We don't want that stuff up here.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's only a couple countries in the world I think we can go to now. It might not even be that many. It might be one off.
Yeah, really.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think, the NHL is definitely going to work.
Can't wait, man.
I think the other leagues will work. Obviously,
they can, yeah. 100%,
obviously,
they can.
I mean, obviously, we talked before. Racing works pretty well, in my opinion.
Yeah.
There is obviously motorcycle racing is a little bit different.
It's a lot easier to manage
than four wheels, in my opinion. Yeah. Four wheels, you're not having as much close contact as you would on a bike, obviously.
True.
I mean, you got guys block passing each other, touching. I mean, obviously they're wearing, for MotoGP, full leathers, helmet. They're pretty much covered from head to toe.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing for motocross, but there still is contact there.
Yeah.
But I don't think you have to worry about it as much because there's no real way to transmit fluids or breathe upon each other, anything like that.
Right.
So I think that's why racing has had so much success.
Yeah.
But the unfortunate part of it is we still have shortened seasons, one, because they had to get pushed off, and two, because some of these circuits and tracks, they don't want to put on an event because they don't think it's going to be safe.
Right. Well, that's number one. I mean, let's, at the end of the day, that's number one. It should be our health and our safety as Americans, no matter what we do.
Yeah.
I don't know when I'm going back to work. And I know we're going to get into college football, but it'll be a completely different world that I've never been in. And many of my colleagues, it's going to be the exact same thing. None of us have dealt with any of this. So we don't know what it's going to be like. I've had many a nights, Luke, where I've flipped on an old game or, I'm dubbing some games off that are still in my DVR. I record every game I call and a lot of other games just for research and scouting. I'm still trying to envision what it's going to be like calling a game with no fans.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be different.
Definitely.
It's going to be different, but man, am I ever ready to go back to it. So I can't wait for the day when things get sorted out. And I know we're getting close to, getting some further verdicts on on what college football is going to do. What else you got in the NFL? Was that it?
Yeah, that's pretty much about it. I mean, I don't have, as I said, I don't have much of an opinion right now on the NFL because I just don't really. I mean, well, even the players don't really know much of what's going to happen. But college football, to me, obviously being a college student and an athlete, it's a little bit of a different story.
Yeah, it is big time.
And I have a little bit more of how I feel about it because I've been in both places as an average student and as an athlete. So I have two different perspectives, which are really the two perspectives to me that are the most important in the decisions that these colleges and conferences will make. We don't really know as of right now. I mean, the only thing we know is that the major conferences have kind of pushed it off till the end of this month.
Yeah.
The Big Ten has said, at least as of right now, that they will only play in-conference games.
They did.
I mean, to me, this is really for college football and college sports, at least in the fall and possibly even in the winter, depending on what happens. Mm-hmm. The only two options to me is everyone goes back or no one goes back. Mm-hmm. Because you have to be fair to the regular students that are going that are attending your campus as well.
Yeah.
If you're saying, okay, all fall athletes can come back, everyone else stay home. Well, then it turns into, I'm not getting the education that they're getting. I'm also paying money that I shouldn't be paying because I'm not paying for housing. I'm not paying for in-class time and what an in-class fee would normally be. So I need money back, or you send me to campus. Then you also have the problem of, these large campuses having too many people. I'll say it, college students probably won't follow the rules. Even though we will be told to, most of us will not do it. And that includes the majority. There will be some that will. But for the most part, I don't think a lot of college students are going to want to listen to, got to get tested once a week, or you have to stay in your dorm after class. And you can only get this many people, to go to eat at this amount of time or this period of time.
Yeah.
And that's where, to me, it just turns into an issue. You have to be fair to everyone in this situation. You can't take away from a regular student and give the athletes everything. And that's where to me, it becomes a really dicey situation for a lot of these schools, conferences.
You're right.
And even the NCAA, the NAIA, all of these. Them. Yes.
Yeah.
So to me, again, they really only have two options. Everyone goes or no one. A lot of people are probably going to disagree with me on that, and trust me, I want to see college football on Saturdays.
Yeah.
I want to see everything.
You want to get rid of your dad. I understand.
Well, it's not that, but it's tradition. I get it. Most people that know me know I'm not a huge football fan, but I still watch football.
Yeah,
of course.
You do.
But you have to be fair to everyone. You can't just treat the athletes differently just because they're athletes and we need to make money. So that's where, at least in my opinion, there's, again, everyone goes or no one goes. So, that's the way I see it, because I've seen it from both sides.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was just a regular student and I said, okay, you can't come here because you're not an athlete, I'd be like, what the hell? Let me go to school. If you're letting everybody else go, then why aren't I allowed to be there?
Mm-hmm.
So obviously we'll see what happens at the end of the month with the SEC and some of these other conferences. But that's my take on college football. Is you have to respect everyone, not just the athletes that would be playing in the fall or possibly the winter, depending on what happens and how far things stretch. But that's my 2 cents on college football.
Well,
at least.
I love the perspective, and I think you're spot on some of those things. I do, and it's such a slippery slope. It really is, man. It's you're right. The Big Ten, they came out. The Pac-12, they came out. I believe they said the same thing.
Yep.
The Big Ten did. The SEC met last week. Look, we gotta, in the next 7 to 10 days, we're gonna know what these schools are gonna do. I mean, I've said it all along. Not just the Power Fives, college football as a whole, everyone's gonna try to play at all costs.
Yep.
I mean, except if they're jeopardizing health, they're jeopardizing safety. I trust those people that are in a position at these schools to make that decision.
Right.
I don't see it happening as scheduled.
Yeah.
I just think right now it's just going to be impossible to do. I think, and I don't know anything. Laugh if you want. But and what I mean by that is I have no inside information.
Right.
Let's be honest. None of us do. There's all kinds of meetings. I talked to a friend of mine today out east, and he's on a big call with a school, unnamed school, with like 20 people, and they're all higher ups. He's doing that tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we were talking about that, and he was just calling to, kind of touch base with me. But, like New York State today, for example, Cuomo came out, their governor, and said no fans at college football this year.
Yep.
Our state, Michigan came out last week and said they will not sell season tickets.
Yeah.
I mean, that was news, but to me, it kind of wasn't.
Yeah.
Because, correct me if I'm wrong, our Governor Whitmer, as some call her Big Gretch, I call her Governor Whitmer. Nevertheless, I thought it was a couple months ago.
I believe it was in April.
Was it that far ago?
I think it was April.
So you're talking, what month is it? Is it December now? I don't even know.
July.
So you're talking almost 3 months ago, or maybe it has been 3 months.
Yeah.
Since she said there would be no fans in any sports venues the rest of the calendar year. I don't believe that's changed.
No.
So, excuse me. So that's what you're dealing with here in Michigan. There won't be any fan. The Big House, if they play, stadium's going to be empty.
Yep.
Spartan Stadium, empty. Waldo Stadium, empty. Kelly Shorts, empty. Rynearson Stadium, Eastern, empty. All these schools, empty stadiums.
Yeah.
And the TV money that these schools make, again, I think it's gonna be an interesting next week. My feeling is, again, no inside info. I got a little off topic there and a little off track. I think starting the season in October is a lot more realistic than just about anything I've heard right now.
Yeah.
I think that can be done. It gives us a little more time as a country to hopefully see this thing start going down again.
Yep.
But then I'm not negative here, but as you touched on, you get these students back, what the hell's going to happen?
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, we've seen it just from the 4th of July holiday, and he's a college student.
Yeah.
So, but he's been very smart. He's been very smart. And I've said it many times. I'm proud as hell of him for being the young man that he is and not being an idiot.
Right.
So that's going to be, this isn't a hurdle. To me, that one's a pole vault.
Yeah.
It is such a huge mountain that we have to wait and see how it goes.
Yeah.
Because let's say in a week, conferences start saying we're going to do this, and schools, the independent schools, like a program I'm close to in Army.
Yeah.
I mean, what are they going to do? They've already lost 2 games.
Right.
And I've heard they might lose a couple more.
Yeah.
And that's as of now.
Yep.
So what are they going to do? There's 7 independents. Notre Dame's kind of yanked themselves out of the independent pool saying, nah, we're going to play what games we can, and the ACC is going to let us play the 5 or 6 games that we play anyway.
Yeah. Yep.
So you got, 6 programs that are independent. So they're going to all have to play each other in a home and a home. Is it going to be like hockey? You play a home and a home. I don't know, but that's where I'm at. I think right now, as of today, what time is it? 4:45 on Tuesday, July 21st, as we take this.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the best case scenario now.
Yeah.
And, a couple weeks ago, I was like, oh, man, I don't want to see this happen. I don't want to not have college football. I mean, I think our country desperately needs that now. We need good things. We need good things. And I mean, I can't even watch the news anymore, Lou. I watch 10 minutes in the morning and I'm like, click, I'm off. I'm done. I can't even watch it anymore.
I think I saw one good news story yesterday.
Yeah.
It was about, it had to do with pandemic, but it was vaccine related.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Yeah. I mean, we're all crossing our fingers 5 times that, hope that happens. But I just personally, it's been mentally, it's been hard for me, just all the unknown.
Yeah.
And it's hard for thousands of other people too, millions of people probably.
Right.
There's a ton of people that work in the field I work in, and the uncertainty is something none of us have ever dealt with.
Yeah.
And so I'm just hoping that we can, as a country, get this thing a little bit more under control. But that's where I'm at as of today, July 21, 4:45. I think October right now is the best case scenario. Again, don't know anything. I'm just going by my gut. I'm being realistic. I'm talking to some people here and there when I can and when we connect, but that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah. Well, we'll definitely see. The other issue that possibly, everyone faces with college is the testing numbers,
Mm-hmm.
amount of people that are allowed to get tested, who gets tested, who doesn't.
Right.
And that again, it's, as I said, you have to be fair to everyone. You can't just give someone, you can't just give someone extra or, a higher number of this or that because they're an athlete or they're not an athlete. So, and that's where I think college football faces its biggest issue.
It's one of them, yeah.
Because students who aren't athletes, they will come out, they will, pull out, they will unenroll. They'll do whatever they can, if they don't feel like they're getting treated fairly. So,
even on the other side, students that are players, there was a story I saw and looked at a little bit yesterday.
Yeah.
There's a group of Pac-12 players that they're saying, hey, we're going to boycott. We want more things to know that we're going to be protected. And I don't see that being a problem. I mean, the NFL a couple of days ago, they didn't have any testing protocols in place. In the last 2 days, you've seen them, get together, Zoom calls, whatever they're doing, conference calls, probably both, everything.
Right.
And they found a way to do it. Yeah. So it can be done, and I think that part of it will get worked out with the schools, the conferences, and those things. But, the NCAA, they said, a few weeks ago, they've been basically like, we don't want to make your own calls, make your own decisions. We don't want anything to do with it.
Yeah.
I'm looking right now at the ticker. I still call it that. Texas has pushed back, their high school football. And, the state of Michigan came out, not the state of Michigan, but the MHSAA. It's not tied in with the state at all.
Yeah.
They're planning on, as of now, they are planning on going forward with the season as it would start. And there's a lot of other states that are doing that, but there's a lot of other states that aren't.
Yeah.
We all understand why. So I don't know, man. It's stay tuned, as we say. It's a rapidly changing world, and especially sports. And again, I just think getting football back would be an incredible lift to our country. And I think back to 9/11, it was a completely different situation. Than this pandemic we've been living in for 5 months now, but how much it meant to I get goosebumps just saying that, man.
Yeah.
How much it meant to see sports come back, when the World Series came back, and you were 5-6 months old, so you don't remember obviously, but that was an incredible time and an emotional time for our country. And, in a way, in a big way, it helped heal and get our country back together, at a time when, there was a lot of death and devastation and uncertainty and question marks, with our country. And, it's just a beautiful thing when it's going on, man.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. So, and I think now we'll kind of move into our debate topic that I wanted to get into.
No hockey?
We touched on hockey.
Yeah, that's right. It's a show.
So, what is and what isn't a sport, really. Obviously we can name the major four. Everyone calls those sports. I think they are sports. Contact.
Yeah, they are sports. Absolutely. It's competition.
All that kind of stuff. I know when we had this conversation, we talked a little bit, because I've heard so many people, and I've had this argument pretty much my whole life with mostly people my age, not so much with like adults or anything like that, but I'm sure I'll have it for the rest of my life, so long as I'm a racing fan.
Is racing?
Well, yeah. I mean, I've had plenty of people tell me, "Oh, motocross, supercross, it's not a sport. MotoGP is not a sport."
Yes, it is.
These athletes, MotoGP, supercross, motocross, whatever, MXGP, motocross riders, and track riders, those guys are literally built like Olympians.
They are.
They are Olympic standard athletes.
Yeah.
These guys are some of the best athletes in the world. I mean, think about it. You have to ride around, for MotoGP, for example, you have to ride around a 1,000cc bike, be able to control that, be able to hit braking points perfectly, control your lean angle, not lean too far over to crash.
At 120, you were telling me about that guy earlier.
With Marc Marquez, yes, for example.
Crazy.
You have to be able to control that. You have to be able to battle with guys, have contact, things like that. You have to be able to train yourself to fight, the amount of G-force coming under your body and, the wind coming at your body. That's why you see MotoGP riders, tucked under the fairing like this, so they don't get, so one, it's
swept off their bike.
It's a speed thing, one, and two, it's, it's injury prevention, of course, but, and then for motocross, supercross, I mean, you're going over, different sets of jumps, whoop sections and supercross. You're block passing guys and hitting each other. I mean, it's extremely physical, and you have to be able to last in these races too. For supercross, for example, the 250 main events are 15 minutes. And then when you get to the 450, the premier class, it's 20 minutes. Rookies tend to struggle when they get to the 450 class with a 20-minute time because it's a lot longer. It's a bigger bike. It's heavier.
The riders are better.
You got a lot more power. You have a better, you have a better, field of competition.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's not easy, So it's racing to me is a sport. Even, driving four wheels is a sport. An F1, I mean, these guys have to accommodate for the amount of braking power coming off of a straightaway.
Yeah.
They have to be able to handle the G-force going through turns and
got to react,
and things like that. Reactionary.
Yeah.
I mean, F1 is very quick. If you've never seen an F1 race, I mean, these guys are making decisions that quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, they're thinking 3 steps ahead
at 175 or 200 miles an hour, whatever they're going.
Yeah, and then they have obviously also too comms between, that's the difference between MotoGP and motocross, supercross. You don't have communication between your race engineer, where an F1 or really any other four-wheel
NASCAR,
you have
Indy,
you have comms in the car where you can communicate to your get race updates, know where someone is.
You got spotters.
Right, you can talk, if you want to undercut someone, when you should pit, what kind of tires you want to put on.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys got to be able to talk and think to their race engineer to make split-second decisions, on what tires they're going to put on coming into this next pit, or when they're going to pit, what lap they're going to pit, if they want to try to undercut someone to make a pass happen on the last lap of the race. It's definitely a sport. I mean, all these guys have to train. They have to be physically ready. Daniel Ricciardo, he's one of the Renault drivers, probably one of the funniest guys in F1 in my opinion. He talks about how he has a very thick neck, and that's to handle the G-forces coming across their body. Most of those guys have very wide necks, if you will, to accommodate for that. They do neck training, things like that. So racing to me is definitely a sport.
Well, I'll say this: it is called motorsports.
Yes.
So
exactly.
I've had that debate with many people, and there's no debate between you and I. That one we agree on.
Yes.
They are athletes. It is a sport. It's competition at incredible speeds. And if you don't react and do the right thing, there's a really good chance you could die.
Right.
To me, that one's easy.
Yeah. And, to give a very good example, Jorge Lorenzo back in 2013 at the Assen TT circuit in the Netherlands crashed in, I believe it was free practice on Friday because it was raining, high-sided terribly, broke his collarbone, comes back that Sunday to race and finishes 4th.
Jeez.
Where NBA athletes, my pinky hurts, I'm going to sit for a week.
Yeah.
So, if that's not an example of how tough these guys are mentally and physically, that just shows you right there.
Yeah,
I even touched on the Vizioso, 3 weeks ago, injured his collarbone in a motocross accident. It's a podium finish in the first weekend after not racing a MotoGP bike for 486 days.
Incredible.
So, racing is a sport. I know we talked a little bit, I think, about darts was one that came
Darts is a game.
It's
competition, but it's a game.
Yeah. I guess, I know we talked like the motion of throwing it is that, but
so you think it's a sport?
I guess in a sense, because
it's competition.
They put it on TV.
Is chess a sport?
I would say chess is a sport. I mean, you have to. Well, to me, it's IQ, because that's something that people don't. People think, it's only about physical and all that stuff. Your mental game has to be just as strong as your physical body does, in my opinion, and that's for every sport. You have to be able to think 3 steps ahead before the guy in front of you, the guy behind you. You got to be able to, in hockey, make a move and dangle through 3 guys like Connor McDavid and think about what you're going to do every step of the way.
Yeah.
You got to think about where you're going to put the shot. Lacrosse, you got to think about what dodge you're going to put together.
Watch out for guys coming after you.
Right. As a defender, you got to think about what kind of check you're going to throw in this situation. Where do I want to put this guy? What hand is he?
Yeah.
And to me, the mental aspect of sports is not talked about enough. I think in this modern day and age, it has been emphasized a lot more.
It has. I would agree with that.
Because you've heard about plenty of guys going through mental training and things like that.
Yeah.
But I would consider, I don't know if I'd call them like full on sports, but I would say, you could give it to darts a little bit. You could kind of give it to chess.
Golf
is definitely a sport.
Absolutely, it is.
There's huge physical aspect to it.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen it with
Brooks Koepka
and Bryson DeChambeau.
Kenny Powers.
You know, I mean, the physical aspect, being able to drive off the tee, get the ball where you want it to go, your hand-eye coordination.
I mean, like, yeah, those are all, you're right. It is, you have to physically do things right.
Mm-hmm.
But I say this all the time, and whether it's doing this, talking to people that, you know, or just having a conversation, or people I'm playing with.
Right.
And to me, about 90% is right here in golf.
Yeah. Yep.
Because if you get behind enemy lines in your own head and you're trying to play golf and you're in a funk, it is next to impossible to get out of it.
Yeah.
And I mean, pros can do it, but some pros can't do it.
Right.
Sorry, I got a little excited there. Some pros can't do it.
Yep.
Some pros just fall apart and, you know, they chalk it up and they go out and play the next round, or they go on to the next tournament.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I'd say chess and darts to me are games.
That's a no for you.
Those are no's. Now, you know.
What about poker?
That's a game.
That is a game. Yeah.
Some would argue, well, it's called a game of golf.
Right.
It is called a game of golf. Technically, that's the appropriate term.
Yeah.
You know, let's go play a game. Let's go play a game of golf.
Yep.
You know, most people just say, oh, let's just go play golf. But it's technically, it's a sport.
Yeah.
To me, it's a sport. I
Yes.
mean, what other ones could we discuss here and debate?
Bowling, that one comes to mind. I always argued, because I had friends that were on the bowling team. I would always say that as a sport.
I agree.
Because you know, there's a lot of technique and mechanical physicality.
There's a physical aspect, for sure.
You got to be. I mean, a lot of bowlers are, you know, they have a good upper body, you know, and a good core, because they want to be able to throw the ball the right way.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I mean, those guys, the professional bowlers, are going for a strike every ball.
Yep. And a lot of them get them.
Yeah. I mean, most of those guys are averaging, like, you know, 250, 260 a game.
Right.
You know, and some of them, I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen a pro bowler have a perfect game, but it's obviously happened plenty of times.
A lot, yeah.
But I would say bowling, there's definitely a physical aspect to it. You know, because you know, what also plays into it too is the weight of the ball as well. You know, I mean, when I go and bowl, I usually try to go for something light, because it's easy to throw, so I can, you know, get some good speed behind it, and
a little more control of it, maybe,
you know, and hopefully not pull a blooper as in not letting go of the ball because it's too light, and throwing it into the ceiling and breaking a TV or something. Those are always hilarious videos to watch. You know, but some people prefer to throw a ball that's heavier, because they feel like it gives them more power and more kinetic energy, if you will, to hit the pin stronger, and you know, things like that. So bowling to me is a sport.
I agree with that.
I think that one will always have an argument, because some people will look at it as like, oh, well, I could just go bowling with my friends, knock a couple beers back, have a pizza, and
exactly,
time.
Chew up some darts, and you know, you're hanging in the bowling alley. No, I get that.
Right.
I think it is a sport. I do. I really do. What about curling? It's another one I thought of when I was listening to you talk about bowling.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one to make.
It's tough, man.
That's a tough one.
Remember, you got a lot of friends in Winnipeg.
Right. Well, they don't, you know, they're mostly hockey fans. But,
well, good. Timmy's, here's to you.
You know, but, you know, I don't know how to give that one, because you have the people that are, I'm going to get all these terms.
Sweeping, scrubbing. I've never done curling.
I'm going to get all the terms wrong, but you got the people sweeping. I don't know if that's, you're doing a physical action, but that's like sweeping up your floor, in my opinion. I mean, that, you know, I mean,
that's why I asked. I'm having a hard time playing.
Because then, you know, you think about
I think it is a sport, because I would say it is, because it's a team.
Yeah.
You have a team, and not that that's the end all be all, that it's a sport. I mean, that would totally negate what I just said about golf. Right. It would negate about what you said about racing.
Yeah.
But I think it is a sport.
Yeah. Well, you know, and you got to have, you got to be able to play. I mean, because the stones are pretty, I don't know what they weigh, but I know that
they're heavy.
They're pretty damn heavy.
Yeah. You got to have, there's skill. There's a lot of skill involved from what I know. I've never done it.
Yeah.
I've never done it. I've never called it.
Very intricate sport. That's
it is. Yeah. It really is.
Small things you have to get right
to
be able to. I mean, I've watched it for years in the Olympics, and I still don't know how it works.
Yeah.
Because it's my understanding is it's just it's shuffleboard on ice with bigger with giant stones, basically.
Shuffleboard. There's another one. Is that or is that a game too?
Well, I mean, I've never personally played shuffleboard, but I've also
it.
never curled.
I played it.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess you could consider it a sport. I mean, competition involved. Do you play that with teams, or is that just like one-on-one type of thing?
You can play teams, but
Okay.
usually it's one-on-one. What about cornhole?
Oh man, yeah, I would. Yeah, I would say it's a sport.
Not just because it's on TV.
No, because it's the same thing. Because that is similar to like, well, it's not similar, but you can kind of look at it in the same light as like ultimate frisbee, for example. But yeah, I would say cornhole is a sport because there is a lot of technique to it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know.
I agree.
I know on the 4th of July, I was messing around with different ways to throw it. I mean, I was thinking like frisbee style or underhand stuff like that. Um, you obviously have to have a little bit of weight on you to be able to throw a beanbag at 27 feet or however long the distance is. But yeah, I would say cornhole is a sport, and it's a team sport too. You do play it; it's teams of two, I believe. So, but yeah, I would say cornhole is. Ultimate frisbee definitely is.
Now, if anyone tells me out there that hot dog thing they do is a sport, they're never going to get me to agree.
That's a competition.
It's gross.
Well, it is gross.
It's disgusting. Yeah. Number one,
dipping a hot dog.
It's just awful. It's just
yeah. It's definitely hard to watch.
I just threw out any chance of ever doing that event in my career, but that's okay. I'd rather do anything else.
I don't know how you really qualify that as a business.
I was just throwing it out there. Well, you mentioned the 4th of July, and that thing's always around the 4th, and I just find it absolutely, utterly disgusting.
I mean, what? You just have to develop a bigger stomach over the course of the. I don't know how you really. I mean,
that's just
what kind of training is involved in that?
Unhealthy. It's unhealthy, is what it is. My opinion.
I mean, Joey Chestnut's the king, though. He's dominated that thing for what?
Yeah, he is. He's a king at eating, but to me, it's not a sport.
Yeah, somehow the guy doesn't put on weight. I don't understand how.
Because he pukes it all out when he's done. Apparently.
Is that how he does it?
I don't know. I don't want to know.
Yeah, I guess I don't either. But
boy, this podcast is gone right in the toilet.
Yeah. Well, I know one that we talked about was esports and gaming.
Yes.
This one's probably going to spark a little bit more debate, just because esports and gaming to me is a sport.
Well, it is called esports, but is that them calling it that, or do you think the majority of people?
It is. I mean,
think it's a sport.
I'll say this. I'm sure a lot of people play Call of Duty, some more serious than others. Anyone that knows me, I'm a very competitive guy. I don't like to lose no matter what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Whether that's a video game, lacrosse game, if I'm playing
hoops with your dad,
ping pong with someone, whatever, it doesn't matter. If I'm trying to get to a location faster than someone, everything's a competition for me. That's just my personality.
Right.
And I will definitely say that a game like Call of Duty, Rainbow Six Siege, it involves a lot of IQ in very high stress situations. I mean, I think back to a couple of days ago, I had to clutch a 1 versus 4 with I had 2 guys running the same door at once, and then another guy coming to my right side in a different door, and I'm sitting in a corner.
Don't die.
And I ended up winning it, but it's high stress because you want to win every single round. You only have 1 life per round, depending on what game mode you play, obviously. But you have to you have to think ahead. You literally have to study the maps. You have to know exactly what your opponent's going to do. You have to know exactly how you want to play a specific round, what kind of weapons or guns you want to use, if you want to rush or if you want to stay back and defend. There's a lot of intricacies to it. There's not maybe per se as much of a physical aspect in esports.
Right.
I mean, you do have to obviously have very, very good hand-eye and reactionary skills. And there is a lot of finesse into playing, especially with controller, which is what most of these guys professionally are using. I know some esports, it is keyboard and mouse. But even with that, I mean, you have to be able to control a full mouse instead of, with your 2 thumbs, 2 different thumbsticks, which that on its own it seems easy, but it is slightly challenging. But I would say it's a sport. You can also look at sim racing as well. I mean, you got people dropping tens of thousands of dollars on sim racing setups just to, basically have a car in their house.
Yeah.
And it's pretty impressive what,
Yeah.
you know, what people are able to do with those sim racing setups. But that is
What about a golf simulator? Same deal. I would say this, closing thought on the gaming.
Yeah.
You start making a bunch of money on it and making, you know, a living, I'll call it a sport.
Okay. You know, I mean, and that is the other thing too. I mean, you got guys competing for $1 million
Right.
a year. You know, so it's, to me, I would consider it a sport. I know a lot of people who would, you know, have more of a, I guess you would say a conservative look at things, wouldn't necessarily say it is. I don't mean that in a political sense. I just kind of mean that in, you know, you don't really like technology and you don't really like some of the advancements. So I think people like that would
Right.
say it's definitely not a sport. How could you even think that? It's a video game. It's for fun. It's a hobby. It's not.
So your grandfather wouldn't think it's a sport then?
Probably not.
Love you, Dad.
But it is taken extremely seriously. I mean, you know, I get on to Call of Duty every now and then. I want to win.
Now and then?
Well, I mean, I've taken a break from it for the most part.
Oh, you
this
have?
week. Yeah,
you
I
have.
haven't played
Okay.
that much
All right.
this week.
All right. Good.
Mostly just because I've been playing F1 and MotoGP.
Good.
But you know, but yeah, I mean, when I get on, I want to win. I don't want to go on there. I mean, I want to have fun sometimes, but you know, I mean, that also incorporates the mental game that I've talked about.
Mm-hmm.
There is a mute button, so you don't have to listen to other people. But generally, you want to come with a decent amount of trash talk because let's just say, without getting into any stories, because a lot of them are very vulgar, and I really think you just have to experience it.
I've heard many of them. They're not good.
It's very degrading in a lot of ways for a lot of different people.
So it's trash talk.
Well, it's just very toxic.
Well, some of it's worse than trash talk.
It's an extremely toxic environment online. You're not going to see that as much in the professional aspect,
Right.
Because obviously these guys they respect each other. They know everyone's good in their own way, and they have a sense of respect for everyone that they're playing as. I mean, of course, you know, you've got Scump, who, in my opinion, is one of the greatest Call of Duty players of all time. You know, I've seen a million times this, you know, standing up when they come back and win against a team that basically choked it away.
Right.
You know, but that's, you know, you see that in every sport.
Yeah.
But you know, there is obviously a very high level of respect in the professional esports world, where the general multiplayer aspect of most games is very, especially Call of Duty, is very toxic and not fun at times, to say the least. So, I mean, if you're having a good game, it doesn't matter. But if you're not, it just piles on.
Right.
And that's why I encourage anyone to use the mute feature, because it is a very, very useful feature. And it definitely will save lives. So
sometimes you need a mute button on life.
Yeah.
But we got to keep forging ahead.
Right. But yeah, I mean, I would definitely say esports, at least to me, it's very competitive. It's definitely a sport. And you have to have a very high mental capacity to be competitive and to be very good at it. And a lot of technical ability, and just, you know, I mean, you know, there's some guys that I watch play, and it's like, I don't even know how they do half this stuff or think of it, you know, because it's like, I never think of this. It's like, you know, they're like, okay, this guy's going to be right here. He's going to, you know, use this type of tactical grenade to try to stun me or flash me. I'm going to move to this side so I can get a better angle. Like, it's really impressive how some of these guys are able to play. And if you want to see a good example of that, check out I'm Marksman on YouTube or Twitch, because he does live stream every day. Definitely one of the best Call of Duty players I've ever seen in my entire life.
So he makes $1 million a year playing video games.
Well, he used to be pro. He's not pro anymore, but he does make a lot of money from Twitch deals. Obviously, he makes ad revenue from YouTube. You know, he does gaming events, of course. You know, and he has different deals with obviously a lot of different sponsorships for, you know, whether it be keyboard companies or, I mean, I think he has a
headset, stuff like that.
Yeah, headset companies. I believe he has a deal with Dell because he's a PC player, or HP, something like that. You know, there's tons of stuff that can kind of go into it where you can make a lot of money off of it. But yeah, he's definitely one of the best players, like professional players I've seen. So, But yeah, esports is a sport. Sure, a lot of people are going to disagree with that, but it definitely is. I mean, I don't know if I can really think of too many other.
I think we hit on a good amount of, different ones that,
Yeah, I mean, I've heard.
excuse me, I think are always open for debate.
Yeah, well, you're gonna laugh at this one. I've heard lacrosse is in the sport.
What? Who the hell said that?
Well, definitely my high school football team thought that.
They don't know anything.
For those that don't know, baseball players and lacrosse players have a pretty big feud with each other. So, we also get that from them too, but we say the same thing. But
yeah, well, the hockey guys stick with the lax guys.
Right. but at the end of the day, lacrosse is definitely a sport.
Oh, for sure. That's not even a debate.
It's not a debate.
No.
And it's a very, I would say it's a very difficult sport to play.
It is. Yeah. I've never played it, but I've watched you play it and called a lot of games, whether it's college or pro. And it's, it is very difficult. I've said many times, calling that sport at times and at many times is faster than calling hockey.
Yeah.
It really is. Mm-hmm. I mean, those skip passes, you could be a matter of, you could do a 2 to 3 count. The ball's on the far side of the field and they skip it all the way over and the ball might be in the back of the net.
Yeah.
In 2 to 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Hockey's similar.
Right.
But to me, it feels like there's more, I don't know if it's more passing. I think it's more, you see more passes of distance, I would say, in lacrosse than you do in hockey.
Right.
You see a lot of stretch passes, obviously, in hockey, you know,
of course.
70, 80, 90-foot passes, stuff like that. But, I think the sport is incredible, and I've always said it's hockey on grass.
Yeah, well, I think where hockey is slightly slower at times than lacrosse is, obviously the puck is on the ice.
Cycles, things like that.
Well, that and, there's a lot of friction on the puck because it's going across the surface.
Right.
It's going to move a lot slower than a ball going through the air.
Yep.
And I think, I would say that passing is a very big part of lacrosse.
Sure is.
Especially to set up plays.
Move the ball.
Get out of clears. Not that it isn't in hockey. Passing is important in every ball sport.
Yeah.
But, you definitely see, especially on man-up situations, the ball gets around the horn within 7 seconds.
Yeah, I was going to say 6 to 8 seconds.
Probably, to disrupt the defense and try to find an opening for a skip lane, or if the guy inside gets open, look inside. It's it's definitely a pretty difficult sport. It's definitely up there. I would say, along with a lot of others.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't really think of many others. I know we talked about soccer a little bit.
It's a sport.
Well, not the fact that it's not a sport or is a sport, but more in the sense that we've had the conversation of it's not like
a contact sport.
Contact, yes.
It is at times, but it's not. I don't think the volume of contact is as high as you get in football, hockey, or even lacrosse and basketball.
Yeah.
There's contact, but I think, to me, the real true contact sports are football and hockey, and I'd say rugby.
Yeah.
Wrestling obviously would be in that category, where there's contact just about every single play.
Yeah.
There's times, you played for years playing soccer where, guys might be running down a lane down the field and no one's near them for, 50 yards.
Yeah.
But there is contact, but
there's a lot, and I don't think TV does, obviously, because the camera is so far away from, the field of play.
Yeah.
It doesn't always do it justice. I didn't even know before I started playing soccer and getting into it that guys hip checked each other.
Yeah.
You'll see hip checks from defenders. I've gotten a concussion from getting headbutted from a defender.
Yeah.
I would tend to disagree with you a little bit, and I would say it's definitely a full contact sport.
All right.
And you really don't have, the only protection you have is shin guards.
Yeah, right.
And when I played, I didn't wear, I wasn't a defender, so I wore smaller, lighter shin guards because I wanted to be as fast as possible.
Right.
As a wing player.
Yeah.
But that's really the only protection you have. We've seen Petr Cech, for example, who was he has to wear a helmet as a goalkeeper because he had so many concussions from coming out to play guys or, getting hit in
Going
the head
up and bam.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously in the box, on corner kicks, free kicks, there's a lot of contact in those situations, especially. But just on the field, I mean, you can get away with a lot of things, but there are certain things that will get carded. I mean, I know at least, you do see guys from time to time tug on each other's jerseys, but you can't really do it in high school. I got carded for that before.
Oh yeah.
But you see that happen. I mean, even guys, I mean, you'll get elbows getting into your chest. I mean, I know defenders try to fight the, you can't put two hands on a guy's back if they're going up for a ball. You can put one.
Right.
But you'll see at times guys will put a lower arm kind of down more on that kind of lower tailbone area to try to push against someone and kind of get into the back of whoever's trying to go for the ball.
Yeah.
And I would say it's pretty physical. Slide tackles definitely hurt.
Oh yeah.
I mean, any tackle hurts if they miss the ball because you're basically getting kicked right in the shin.
Right.
Or the ankle or the leg or wherever. I've been stepped on before. I mean, I would say it's a fairly physical sport, even though the playing field may not make it look that way. There are obviously a lot of times where teams are just playing possession and there's not much contact going on in those situations.
Yeah.
But, in high energy moments, there's definitely a lot of contact and a lot of things that should be free kicks or penalties or cards that aren't. So, that's my opinion on soccer, at least from a physical aspect. It's definitely a physical sport. And I've unfortunately been the culprit of that sometimes because, there's been times where I've gotten away with things I shouldn't have, and there's been times where I've, gotten a card or, gotten a warning from a referee, saying don't do this, even though it's like, there's not really that much of a rule set per se on what you can and can't do, but I would say soccer is a physical sport. I do agree in that I wouldn't put it up there with, hockey or football, obviously, but there is a good amount of contact in soccer, in my opinion. So, but
cover everything.
Yeah, I think so. I don't really think there's any sports that I'm missing that I would say or argue that are or aren't.
Yeah, I can't really think of any other ones either. I think we touched on, the key ones, and it's fun to talk about, and let's just get them back going, and let's just be smart, let's be together, and just try to get this thing knocked down so we can look, I mean, not everyone's a sports fan, but I mean, most of our country people follow sports, and it's something I think that can do our country a lot of good and breathe a lot of positive energy back into, people's lives, and, and just put some smiles on people's faces, man. I think would be great.
Yeah, definitely.
So we're looking forward to the NBA starting up soon. The NHL start. I mean, the NHL thing is going to be unbelievable, man. I'll just say this before we say so long. I mean, it's basically going to be like March Madness.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to have 5 games a day on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's going to be pretty awesome to see. I'm really excited for that to get going August 1 and, get it cranked up and start watching the boys play and, get a feel for what it's going to be like to call a game with no fans.
Yeah, definitely.
Just watching it. I mean, none of us have done it.
Yeah.
So no matter what sport you do, no matter what network you work for, no matter how long you've done it, none of us have done it. So it's going to be very strange. I mean, there's a rare occasion where there's, a stadium with, 1,000 people in it, but there's not going to be 1,000 people in these. I mean, they're going to be empty.
Yeah.
So I can't wait until the first game I do. And I asked the A1 in the truck, hey, can I get effects?
Yeah. Not going to have.
What do you want to hear, Benny?
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm still going to want to hear the chatter on the field and, and I think that way, I think in that sense, and I've always been that way, Luke, because I want to get as close as I can get for the fans that are watching.
Yeah.
I want to hear everything. I want to hear the ball. I want to, hitting gloves or tackles or whatever, coaches, players, in hockey, pucks hitting sticks, skates digging into the ice, guys going into the boards.
Yeah.
Basketball, same way.
Yep.
So that's going to be interesting to see. But this was fun, and glad we got to do another one. And,
definitely.
It's always fun doing a show with my son. So
for sure.
Doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah, definitely. So we hope you enjoyed this latest edition of the No Holden Back podcast. be sure to check out this guy at Instagram. He's got an
Finally
Instagram
on
account
there.
now. So he'll be doing some stuff to get the show out there a little bit more. And,
Yeah.
we're, good to be back and doing a show again. And, everyone listening, we hope you're doing well, staying safe, washing your hands. And I please pray that you wear a mask. It saves lives.
Wear a mask.
It's very vital.
It helps.
And if you want proof that it doesn't cut off oxygen levels or anything like that, doctors through pretty much this past couple of weeks have been testing and debunking all those myths of it cuts off my oxygen or I can't breathe. So wear a mask, be safe, be smart, look out for your fellow Americans,
right.
And anyone listening in any other countries. Look out for your neighbors and just be smart, be courteous, be kind. Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.